So I've been asked to speak about my experiences of mental health as a business owner on Mental Health Awareness Week, and it is my absolute pleasure to do so. So what I want to do today is basically give you guys an insight to my mind and what I've been through when it comes to mental health, and also the tips that I might be able to pass on to you, having been there and being able to give you some insights to what you can do when you're feeling quite low. So first of all, if I was to paint my mind, I would paint a really happy duck sitting on top of a dark and quite turbulent, never-ending ocean. And that sea, or that ocean, is a recipe of mourning, self-doubt, negativity, unworthiness, despair, frustration and guilt. And it's always there, and as far as I can remember, it's always been there. I've always been aware of the ocean, but I think that I became most aware when I was drowning and didn't even realise. I was sleeping around 5 hours a night. I was pouring money into the expansion of my business. I had pressure coming from multiple sources to make this expansion work. And the first thing I started to notice is I couldn't walk fast. It was like I was walking through sludge or really thick grass, and no matter what I did, I just couldn't speed up. I would often become teary for no reason. I lost my interest in women. I then lost my interest in life. My head was filled with vicious insults directed towards myself, suicidal thoughts included in that. And then one day I was sitting at work and I felt like I didn't belong there. It was like I was watching a film. It just wasn't real. The walls started to bend and misshape, like I was in a room full of mirrors, for example. I looked at my hand and I felt genuinely disconnected from it, almost like it was the hand of a mannequin or something like that. And I didn't realise this at the time, but I was actually experiencing what is called disassociation, which is a defence mechanism common to sufferers of depression and anxiety. My mind was essentially trying to escape the reality that I had put it in. And at that point, I knew I had to see someone. So now let's talk about what worked for me. And you might find that there's some good advice here for you, but I at least want to pique your curiosity as to what you could do if you start to work towards improving your mental health. The first step for me was to get a guide. Now, the mind for many of us is the unknown. Uncharted territory needs a guide for navigation, so my first piece of advice is to get a psychotherapist or a counsellor. They'll walk you through the unknown territory of your mind to find a solution to your own internal anguish. Now, the second piece of advice I'd like to give is to look within yourself, not outside of yourself. Chris Gardner, who you might know from being the main character in the film The Pursuit of Happiness, brilliant story if you can read his autobiography, he really inspired me. He said, "I drove myself here." Now what he meant by that is that whatever hard situation he found himself in, he was the one that drove himself into that location, whether that's mentally, financially, socially, etc. So I feel no matter what situation I'm in, I'm here because I drove myself here. I made it so. I drove myself here, and that means that I can drive my way back out of that mess that I've driven myself into. Ownership that I've found, the ownership over the mess that you find yourself in really empowers yourself to change it, and you have to accept that. The third thing is reading about psychology. So we often panic when presented with something that we don't quite understand. Psychologists often describe the mind as containing multiple personas or forces. By understanding how my mind interacts within itself and within these multiple personas, it enabled me to really look into my mind from a bird's eye perspective. And everyone knows that when you put things into perspective, it seems a lot calmer and a lot more manageable. And the last tip I have is daydreaming. I think a lot of us don't daydream anymore because whenever we're bored or not preoccupied, we tend to look at our phones. But many people might call this visualization. For me, I call it daydreaming. I take regular 5-minute breaks from work just to look outside of the window and dream of the future. One day dream that often gets me excited is me running down the stairs across my white marble floored hallway outside of my manor with my family into my Aston Martin, and then driving to the airport to fly to Jamaica for a beautiful family summer holiday, all smiling, all happy. Another might be me successfully helping 100,000 clients, every one of them declaring their gratitude for our work. These are little things that I daydream about. And it really helps to put the current hard times into perspective and draw meaning into the discomfort that a lot of us create at work for our own future rewards. So those are my tips, but I'd also like to shed some light on the reality of the situation. And those who have platforms are calling for more focus to be placed on mental health, and for this I applaud them. But the reality is that those who are at the bottom of the socioeconomic ladder are those that suffer from the worst mental health per capita, yet often they're unheard, they're not in the public eye. They're constantly even shamed for being, and they're being classed as lazy, stupid, self-sabotaging. But in my opinion, awareness means nothing without treating the single mothers, those on the poverty line, members of marginalised communities, those hidden from the public eye, yet stuck in their own misfortune, with the same respect and admiration as those of so-called influence speaking out against their own misfortunes with poor mental health. So if we're going to take time to applaud the influencers and the celebrities who are speaking out for it, we also need to take time in our own routine and in our own reality to appreciate those individuals who are suffering from mental health really badly, who don't have platforms, who aren't from privileged positions at all, yet per capita are suffering far greater than those individuals from privileged positions who also have the platform to speak out against mental health. The depths of the sea of mental illness is far greater than social media. You will encounter individuals in real life who are suffering from mental illness. Do not brush them aside. Give them the time of day that you do also give other people on social media. So I hope this has been helpful for you, and I wish you all the best in your journey. And if I could give one piece of advice, is do not go on this journey alone. Thank you.